Right now, let's check in and talk Kings College Wrestling. Adam Healey, the new head coach, joining us this morning here on the show. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning, John. Thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate you coming in, and congratulations. Boy, Ned McGinley had it for so long. He finally has moved on now, and you know the program as an assistant coach, and now it's your job to be the head guy.
It is. I'm excited for it. It's been really great to kind of be with Ned for the last 3 years of his head coaching career here. It's given me a lot of different perspective on as a new head coach coming into it, somebody in his first head coaching gig, new to the whole thing, seeing somebody who's been around it for so long, and it just gives you a really different perspective on the sport and on the profession of coaching.
And I'm sure Ned McGinley had some old school tactics there at Kings College, things he knew from way back when. And then, of course, he probably had to change a little bit with the times as things go on. So you say that perspective is so good, but you have your own wrestling background as well, and you kind of mesh that all together, and you're hoping for a great formula there at Kings College.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm like Ned, I'm a local wrestling guy. I wrestled at Wyoming Seminary college prep school coming up from 7th grade through high school, and then went on to Bucknell, stayed pretty locally. But so I try to take the experiences from all those different places, not just as a competitor, but as a coach too, and as an assistant coach, getting the opportunity to work alongside guys like Ned, obviously, but other guys like Scott Green over at Wyoming Seminary when I was an assistant there. He's another guy that's really given me a lot of different ideas and coaching strategies and things like that. So I've been very fortunate to have a lot of different influential coaches throughout my life, both as a competitor and as an assistant coach up till now. So yeah, it's always a process of kind of bringing all those experiences together and trying to find the best fit for the situation, the team that you're with now. And I've had some time here as an assistant at Kings to get a head start on that. It's not going to be a whole new process figuring it out, so I have that advantage coming in, and so I think it'll go smoothly, and I'm excited for it.
Wrestling just getting bigger in northeastern Pennsylvania now. Wyoming Seminary adding girls wrestling, which is really an incredible endeavor for them. I think it's going to be pretty interesting, and bringing in a pretty darn talented coach, from what I understand.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another thing. Scott kind of had that idea a couple of years ago. I remember him talking about how he saw women's wrestling as the future of the sport, and he's a guy, when he sees something like that and has a vision for it, he goes out and he finds the help that he needs to get it done, and you see how that turned out, and it's going to be really cool to see how that pans out. You see a girl or two scattered from one high school team to another, but throughout Pennsylvania, which is the best wrestling state in the country, hands down, you don't see many teams of just all women's wrestlers. So it's a great opportunity for this area to kind of be ahead of the curve in that respect and to grow that side of the sport also. And so I'm excited to see how it turns out. It's also growing on the college level too, more and more. So it'll be something to watch for, with all the local Division III schools and things like that, to see if any of them, including us, jump into that pool as well.
How do we here in northeastern Pennsylvania, high school wrestling? We've had some very good wrestlers over time. Obviously, everybody in the Lehigh Valley really just seems like that's the sport in the Lehigh Valley. But you throw in Wyoming Seminary over the last decade, and there's been a lot of positives there with that. But how do we continue to try to grow the sport where you're able to keep bringing in some guys? And I'm sure there's some local guys in your program at Kings, but continuing to grow it here on the other level, and talk about youth programs and different things like that.
Well, I think the biggest thing, I think you're right. First of all, I think we've seen some growth in the area, especially in the last 5-10 years. But I think the biggest thing for a lot of kids that'll be coming up in the next few years and even beyond that is just giving them the opportunity at a young age and having good coaches in those systems. So a lot of it starts with the high school coaches in the area and being able to organize their programs and develop good feeder programs with the right people in place. But a lot of that also comes back on us college coaches too, and providing some other opportunities to learn and develop. So, I know we've done it. Keystone's doing a great job with it in developing a club program for youth kids. Steve Middich up at Keystone's done a great job. He gets a lot of kids in there now just in his second year for a club associated with the college. And that's something we're going to look to expand on. We've had that in place the past couple years, and we'd like to just continue to grow our role in the Northeast PA wrestling community and provide more opportunities, whether it's through clubs, camps, individual clinics, stuff like that. But I think that'll be the key down the road here.
Well, Adam, we have a lot more questions coming your way. We're going to take a time out here. We'll come back. We'll talk to you a couple more minutes here and talk about King's College and the wrestling program. So hang in there. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit about field hockey this morning, some baseball. Going to talk about the Luzerne County Hall of Fame. It is football season, so everybody out there getting to their football scrimmages this morning for high schools. The season kicks off next Friday. You can follow us on Twitter any single day of the week. It's at John Mendola Show. We have a story up today. Delaware Valley football coach Keith Olsemer, so you can watch that video. You can listen into that video. I want to thank our friends at Mendocino's Pizza and Family Ristorante located in the ShopRite complex in Daleville. When we come back, we'll talk more King's College wrestling, some soccer, field hockey on the way as well. Let's take a time out, head out now to our local State Farm insurance agent, Frank Sorokatch. Like a good neighbor, Frank Sorokatch is there. We'll be back at WILK. We're even one better this morning. We're live in studio. We got the head coach from King's College, Adam Healey, joining us, and great to talk with him a couple of minutes ago. We're going to continue that conversation, and Adam, welcome back in, and let's talk a little bit about now the recruiting process for you, and obviously just named the head coach in recent times here, so let's talk about what that recruiting process is going to be like for you.
Well, I think it's going to be exciting. I've started to play a bigger role in recruiting as time progressed from year one as an assistant to year three. This past year, I played a pretty big role in it, tried to be on campus as much as I could, and tried to schedule recruiting visits and things like that around my schedule and when we could get a lot of kids on campus there. So, we have a good plan in place here to get going with recruiting. The biggest thing I think for us is just finding kids that are the right fit and showing them that they can accomplish their goals in a lot of different ways at King's. King's is a great place with a lot of great academic majors that aren't offered traditionally at a lot of different schools. I know our physician's assistants program is something that draws a lot of kids in. Our business schools are nationally accredited. So programs like that are really the things that sell the school. And then when you add into it a growing wrestling program and a supportive athletic department and things like that, it's kind of an easy sell in my eyes. And so, hopefully it goes the way I see it coming up here. But like anything else, as a first-year guy in this position, it's going to be a little bit of trial and error here or there.
John Laudenschlager at Wilkes University has done an incredible job over there. And, of course, I think in some ways you got to look at the positives of how, hey, Wilkes has a good program. You guys are close, but that rivalry and everything else, talk about how you think that could help you here in the Division III level with Wilkes, with the strength that they have, and as you say, different majors, getting guys into Kings for things that have some real positives as well.
Sure. I mean, it's great. It's
these things are just firing on Will. I have no idea.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I mean, having the competition at Wilkes and what John's been able to do over there at Wilkes has just been great. I went to Wilkes for my graduate degree, actually, and while I was there, I did a lot of different studies on organizational leadership and things like that, and I reached out to John for some different things, and he was really supportive. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I've recognized in this area and even in the Division III landscape across the country is that all the other coaches are really supportive. In the past few days, I've gotten a lot of different calls from guys who just wanted to offer their congratulations and help if I needed it. And so things like that are great to see. But having Wilkes basically on the other side of Public Square in Wilkes-Barre is really a cool opportunity for us because they're a step ahead of us right now. It hasn't always been that way, but it gives us somebody to compete against right in our own backyard right there. And so that pushes us every day as coaches and our athletes, I know for sure.
Adam Healey, the new head wrestling coach at King's College on the John Mendola Show. And Adam, when you talk about Division III athletics right now, and you look across the board, boy, I see the competition in football. It's getting harder and harder to get those great recruits. And then I think it's getting a little more challenging for kids to kind of stay with it. But basketball, one of the programs in the Freedom Conference, they're bringing in guys from Miami, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic. So they're getting guys from different places. Keystone College baseball, the guys from Texas, Puerto Rico, Dominican, Florida, Georgia, different things like that. Talk about what you're seeing on the Division III level for wrestling as far as getting recruits and lobbying for guys to come, whether it's local or out of state, that you want to build that program to compete at a high level.
Sure. You see it really often in Division III, especially more in the past, as you alluded to, that, a lot of schools, and we're guilty of this too, to an extent, a lot of our athletes come from just a few surrounding states for the most part. Now you see other programs out there. NYU just had their first national champ last year, a kid from California that they recruited. And so it can be a tough situation to manage sometimes, because in Division III you're a little bit more limited with your budget in terms of recruiting and things like that, just given the school size. But it's on the coaches, the coaching staffs, to go out there and find different ways to recruit and go out and find the best kids, no matter where they are, and form relationships with them. So it's something we've tried to do. I know I've been in contact with some kids from California already since I've kind of transitioned into this position, and I'm sure we'll be looking elsewhere also across the country.
Kid comes to Kings, or a parent is looking at Kings. What are they going to get from Adam Healey? What are you selling them on as far as what you're going to do for him with wrestling?
The biggest thing that I think I provide, well, there's two sides to it. I think, there's going to be a lot of continuity between the previous coaching staff with Ned. I've taken a lot from him, as I mentioned earlier. And so I think people can expect to see the same results in some ways. But what they're going to get from me is somebody who always is going to give it their all and do anything that I can in my power to help their kid along the way develop, both academically and on the wrestling mat. It's not all about wrestling here at Kings. Otherwise it wouldn't go for too long. It wouldn't have been around for 48 years if that were the case.
Well, Adam, it sounds like you got a great head on your shoulders, and you're going to lead this program to some more success that Kings has had in the past with Ned McGinley. Adam Healey, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thanks a lot, John. Appreciate you having me.
You got it. Adam Healey, that new head guy. He was an assistant for a few years at Kings. Well, he's now in charge. Went to Wyoming Seminary, Bucknell, and, of course, got the master's over at Wilkes, but he is now heading the ship at Kings. You can follow us on Instagram any day of the week, The John Mendola Show. I want to thank Frank Soroka at State Farm of this new location, 186 East Tioga Street in Tunkhannock. Give Frank a call, 570-836-4000. We come back here. We will talk about the Jamie Catula soccer tournament ongoing, and, of course, they've done it for a few years. We'll talk about what that message is as Kerry Carney joins us very shortly here. Let's head out now to our local State Farm insurance agent, Daryl Hubbard. Break like a good neighbor. Daryl Hubbard is there. We'll be back on WILK.